So it all started when I actually recently, before I got a friend request from the scammer or anything of this happened, I actually synced up my YouTube channel with my Discord account. Then eventually the scammer sent me a friend request. And I didn't accept it, but I did my usual and sent a message first. And my first message was, howdy. But we did share a mutual server, which was the Rob's mod community Discord server. So my first message was howdy. And I'm going to narrate this with the different voices. My voice will be like, howdy. And the scammer's voice will be like, hi. So I'm going to narrate it with different voices. And let's start. So I'll be like, howdy. The scammer will be hi. And I'll say me before I talk. Before I say what I'm going to say. And once it's scammer, when I narrate the scammer, I'm going to say scammer before the scammer talks. Right, it's time to start. Howdy. Hi. How are you? I am doing Howard's Appliances, TVs, mattresses, good. Replying to scammer, how are you? Me, how about you? How are you? Scammer replying to me, saying how good I am. Glad to hear it. Scammer replying to me, saying how about you? How are you? I am good. Thanks for the compliment. By the way, where are you from? Me replying to the scammer saying, by the way, where are you from? Glendora, California, United States of America, Earth, Milky Way. I got a new M3 iMac with maxed out memory that runs with the Tesla semi-truck mod within American Truck Simulator. Sorry, I have to repeat that because I made a mistake. So I said I got the new M3 iMac with maxed out memory that runs better with the Tesla semi-truck mod within American Truck Simulator than my current 64GB memory until I'm back. And then I said, do you play American Truck Simulator too? Then the scammer replied to me saying, where I live. Oh, that's great. Then the scammer replied to me talking about the M3 iMac I got. Sounds cool. Then the scammer replied to when I asked the scammer, "Do you play American Truck Simulator?" No. Sometimes I play Fortnite, but most of the time I am busy in my artwork. Or do you ever stream? I replied to the scammer who said, or do you ever stream? And said, I want to live stream him again. And then I replied to the scammer. I replied to the scammer who said, or do you ever stream? And said, I want to live stream again. Then I replied to the scammer again who said the same message and said, then I replied to the same message from the same scammer and said, yes, I do live stream. Then I sent a message saying, I have a YouTube channel. Then the scammer replied to my message that I want to live stream again and said, that's a cool idea. And then where I said I do live stream, the scammer replied to that and said, by the way, I also used to stream, but the motion of changes I started designing for VTubers and streamers. Would you like to see some of my previous creations? Then I replied to the scammer saying, by the way, I also used to stream, but the motion of, and said, yes, why not? And then the scammer sent this artwork. Probably AI generated, probably generated by artificial intelligence, and it said, here is some of my, I'm sorry, that's by the scammer. The scammer sent the artwork with a message saying, here is some of my work. Hope you like it. Then I replied to the scammer where the scammer said, by the way, I also used to stream, but the motion of, and said, would you like to see some of my live streams for YouTube? Then the scammer said, sure. By the way, how is my work looking? Then I replied to the scammer who said, by the way, how is my work looking? And said, it looks like it took a lot of effort and skill to make it. It is a good job, I have to admit. Then the scammer said, thanks for compliment. I replied to the scammer who said, sure, and sent the link for my YouTube live stream. By the way, this live stream, it didn't actually stream in 60 frames per second and within 4K because the stream was set up wrong. Then the scammer said, would you like me to make anything for you, like logo, banner, overlay, emotes, 2D, 3D model, 3D rooms, transitions, etc. Then the scammers replied to that video link I sent and said, "Wait, I'll check." Then I replied to the scammer who said, "Wait, I'll check," and said it was supposed to be a 4K 60 frames per second live stream. Then I replied to the scammer for saying, "Would you like me to make anything for you?" And said, "No, I like my current setup the best." And then I said, "I want to chase tornadoes and hurricanes for YouTube, but I will need a driver's license and what means driver's license, a car, and insurance first." I replied to me where I said that where I want to chase tornadoes and said as the reply, "I would also need more stuff to add on to that too." Then I said, "Do you have a YouTube channel?" Then I said after that, "Howdy." Then the scammer said, reply to where I said, "Do you have a YouTube channel?" "Oh no, So then the scammer said separately after that, "I deleted." And then the scammer replied to where I said, "Howdy, hi, how are you?" Then the scammer said after that, "How are you?" Then I replied to the scammer who said, "How are you?" and said, "I am doing good. I was in the middle of listening to some soundtrack. By the way, it was Guardians of the Galaxy mixtape volume 3 that I was listening to. That was the soundtrack I was listening to." And then the scammer replied to, "I am doing good. I was in the middle," and said within the scammer's reply, "Glad to hear. Oh, it's okay." And then the scammer said, so then the scammer said, "I have an idea, bro. Shall I make a logo and banner for you, dude?" Then I replied to that and said, "I already..." Then I replied to the scammer who said, to the scammer for what the scammer said, saying, "Shall I make a logo and banner for you, dude?" And said, "I already created it." Then the scammer said, "Oh, so what about 6-pack of emotes? I am running 70% discount on emotes." Then I said, "I don't have a paid job yet. As of right now, I rely off of my 2 adoptive parents for money. I don't even have a driver's license. I appreciate the offer. We could still talk about this job of yours as friends." And then the scammer said, "Dude, don't worry. It's not too much. As I said, I am running 70% discount." Then I said, "Well, how can I verify if your work is real, if I were really interested in it. I am aware of scams and I need help verifying the integrity and legitimacy of your work. I am not saying that you are a scammer yet. Then the scammer said, okay, I have my own website. Can I show you? Then I replied to the scammer where the scammer said, okay, I have my own website. Can I show you? And it said, see, yes. By the way, I like to say see. Sometimes I follow it with yes in English because I don't want people to be confused. But I like to say, that's one English word. Yes is the one English word I prefer to replace with C, which is the Espanol version of it. Then the scammer sent the link to the scammer's own website. This is the link to the scammer's own website. And along with the link, the scammer said, I'm not sure if it's with the link or not, but I know the scammer said after the link or with the link, the scammer said after or with the link, here is my website. You can check it out. The scammer said, here is my website. You can check it. Also, I have my previous clients' screenshot for trusting my clients. Can I show you? I replied to the scammer and said, also, I have my previous clients' screenshots for, and said, see, yes. Then the scammer said, here's my previous clients. Okay, so you trust me? This is the screenshots. Then I replied to the scammer where the scammer said, okay, so do you want to... Then I replied to the scammer where the scammer said, okay, so you trust me? And he said, I do more, but not 100%, which I think makes sense. Then the scammer said, so if you don't like your work, so I will refund back your money. Kindly let me know what do you want? Then I replied to the scammer who said, kindly let me know what do you want? And said, to be your friend. Then the scammer said, okay, I will be your friend. Shall I make a PFP for you? By the way, by that I think the scammer means, shall I make a profile picture for you? And I said, I like my gameplay picture of Blur of mine for my profile the way it is. Then the scammer said, what about if I can revamp your logo, like your name underneath on it, and add some color effects as well? Then I said, I like it the way it is. Thank you for the offer. Then the scammer said, okay. Then I said, do you want to see my public data Discord server that has all of my desktop slideshow pictures within it? Then the scammer said, sure. Then I sent the link for it. The scammer did join, but then left after a while. Then I said to the scammer, so I am just curious, is this stuff you offered to edit for me without any price mentioned, just free for me as a kind gesture, if I were to agree? Then the scammer said, no, it will cost you. First, let me know, what do you want? Then I said, what program or programs do you use to edit? Then the scammer said, Blender, Unity, 3D Maya, Illustrator, etc. What do you want, bro? Then I said, I use Mac OS. Does that work with Mac OS? Then the scammer said, I don't know. What do you want, bro? Then I replied to the scammer who said, what do you want, bro? And said, within my reply to that, nothing as of right now. Then the scammer said, okay. Then I replied to the scammer who said, okay, I am just having conversation with you. Then I replied to the scammer who said, okay, and said, I am just having conversation with you. Then the scammer said, oh, okay. Then I said, do you also edit videos? Then the scammer said, yeah. Then I replied to the scammer who said, yeah. I just said, my adoptive dad said if I get good at DaVinci Resolve, he will buy me a fancy video editing keyboard. Then I replied to that message. Then I replied to the message where I said my adoptive dad said if I get good, and said, do you use DaVinci Resolve? And then I replied to one of these images. And it said, "Who is Allison Parker 32?" Then I said, my adoptive mom said I could. Then I said, my adoptive mom said I could use my annual birthday money. What can you make for me? Then the scammer replied to that and said, how much money do you have? Then I replied to that. Then the scammer replied to my adoptive mom said I could use and said, how much money do you have? Then I replied to the scammer. The scammer then replied to me and where I said, who is Allison Parker 32? And said, I don't know, bro. Then where I said, then the scammer replied to where I said, do you use DaVinci Resolve? And it said, no. Then I replied to the scammer where the scammer said, how much money do you have? And I said, within the reply to that of mine, I don't know. I will find out during my annual birthday tomorrow, but I have 2,000 United States dollars worth of allowance. Then the scammer said, that's great. So what about getting a 3D model? It will cost it will cost you just $550. Then I said, I want one of a hyper red pool boat, bomb shelter, white mansion. Then the scammer said, do you have any reference image of that? So kindly provide. It's easy for me to understand it better. Then I said, just guess and be creative with it. Then the scammer said, alright, no problem. Also tell me, how much are you able to pay as an upfront comfortability? It's 30% of the total amount is suitable for you because normally I charge 45 through 50% as an upfront. Then I replied to the scammer I didn't reply to the scammer, I just sent this message and it said $150. Then the scammer said 30% would be $165, but if you are unable to pay $150 now, but if you are able to pay $150 now, so let's proceed. Do you have PayPal? Then I said, I do use Bitcoin. Then the scammer said, it's okay. So are you able to pay me via Binance, what is Binance, or Binance, or Bitcoin address, I'm okay with that. Then I said, I will be right back. I am going to buy a load. I live in the middle of nowhere, so it should take me about 2 days to get a load. And then the scammer said, for the Bitcoin? Then I said, I have to put money in it first. Reply to the scammer where the scammer said, for the Bitcoin? And then the scammer said, okay, you want 2 days for that, right? And then I replied to the scammer where the scammer said, right, and said, that is correct though. Then the scammer said, okay, take your time though. Then the scammer so that was like, that, when the scammer said that, it was 7, means it was the 18th day, the 7th month, and the 2024 Anno Domini year. Now it's 7-21. I mean, like 21 day -7 month 2024 Anno Domini year. And then the scammer finally said, hello, how are you? And the scammer said, hello, how are you? Then the scammer said, you there? Then I said, I am being grounded for buying a loan without my adoptive mom's permission. I have to spend 1 night within the police station. I then said, I am being grounded for buying a loan without my adoptive mom's permission. I have to spend 1 night within the police station for driving without a driver's license. Then the scammer said, oh. And then the scammer said, oh, so how much are you able to pay me now as an upfront? Then I said, I have to borrow my adoptive dad's Target rewards card when I visit him tomorrow, and then I can pay you for it. Then the scammer said, oh, sure. Can you pay me at the moment? Then I replied to the scammer where the scammer said, can you pay me at the moment? And said, no, I already told you that I have to wait until tomorrow to pay you for it. Then the scammer said, you don't have... Then the scammer said, you don't have $10 to $20 for now as an upfront, and the rest you can pay me tomorrow. Then I said, what is your favorite sandwich from Arby's? Then the scammer replied to where I said, what is your favorite sandwich? And it said, I don't know. Then I replied to the scammer where the scammer said, I don't know, and said, as the reply, I love their roast beef sandwiches. Then the scammer said, oh, cool. Then the scammer replied to where the scammer said, you don't have $10 to $20, and said, question mark. I replied to where the scammer said, the scammer replied to where the scammer said, you don't have $10 to $20. And the scammer said, question mark? Then I said, replying to where the scammer said, question mark? Do you accept Dogecoin? Then the scammer said, yes. How much you have? Then I replied to the scammer where the scammer said, how much you have? And it said 20 Dogecoins invested into Atlas Earth. Do you want play Atlas Empires too? Then I actually sent a YouTube video link for the very best of Billy Mays. Replied to that video and said, did you know Billy Mays is dead? Within my reply to that video that I sent a link for. And then the scammer replied to where I said, do you play at those Empires? And it said, no. Then the scammer replied to where I said, did you know Billy Mays is dead? And the scammer said, no. Why are you asking what is? And the scammer said, why are asking silly questions? Then I replied to the scammer where the scammer said, why are asking silly questions? And I said, it is because you are my friend and those are not silly questions. Then the scammer said, okay, are you going to pay me? And then I replied to the scammer where the scammer said, are you going to pay me? And it said, no, I already told you that I have to wait until tomorrow to pay you for it. Then I replied to that, the very best of Billy Mays YouTube video link I sent. And said, are any of those commercials one of your favorites? Then the skimmer said, oh, okay, take your time. Then the skimmer replied to where I said, are any of those commercials one of your favorites? And it said, no. Then I sent the scammer actual YouTube video link for the 1992 full school shooting scene. And I replied to that YouTube video I sent the link for and asked, what do you think of this 1992 school shooting scene? Then the scammer said, Then I replied to the scammer where the scammer said, and said, are you alright? Then the scammer said, yeah. Then I replied to where the scammer said, yeah, and said, what do you think of that 1992 school shooting scene? And then the scammer said, no, I don't like it. Then I sent a YouTube video link for SirenCon 2024. And I replied to that YouTube video link and said, were you there? Within my reply to it, that for the YouTube video link I sent. And then I replied to that YouTube video link and said, do you like this video? Then the scammer said, And then I replied to where the scammer said, And I said, replying to that message for the scammer, my adoptive dad is named Jose. And then I replied to where the scammer said, again, and said, "Are you confused? Please play Mortis." And then I said, "Please play Roblox with me." Then the scammer replied to where I said, "Are you confused?" and said, "No." Then the scammer replied to where I said, "Please play Roblox with me." And said, "I don't have time, bro." Then I replied to where the scammer said, "I don't have time, bro." And said, "Can you not afford to play it for free? Is that why?" Then the scammer said, "No." Then I sent a YouTube video the YouTube video is about EA's scenario 19 days till the end of time, ? And I replied to that YouTube video and said, "Would this scare you if you were there?" Then the scammer said, "No." Then I replied to the scammer where the scammer said, "No," and said, "Do you play Subway Simulator?" And then the scammer said, "No." Then the scammer said, "No." Then the scammer said, "No." Then I asked the scammer, "Do you play NASCAR Unleashed?" And then the scammer said, "No." Then I asked the scammer, "Are you excited for the PlayStation 5 Pro?" And then the scammer said, "Oh yeah." Then I replied to where the scammer said, "Oh yeah." Then I replied to where the scammer said, "Oh yeah." And it said, "Do you play Blur?" And then the scammer said, "Ah, no. Hello? Are you able to pay me now? Slash." Then I replied to where the scammer said, "Are you able to pay me now? Slash." And I said, reply to that, "I have to wait 2 to 3 business days for a new one to be delivered first to my adoptive dad because his Target rewards card is expired. I also have to wait until I visit him next week first." Then the scammer said, "Okay." Then I sent a YouTube video link for the Kitchen Gun in Stores Now BBC parody commercial. And then I replied to that YouTube video link saying, "Do you like that parody commercial?" And then I said, "How are you doing right now?" And then the scammer replied to where I said, "How are you doing right now?" And the scammer said, "I am good. What about you?" Then I replied to where the scammer said, "I'm good. What about you?" Then I replied to where the scammer said, "I'm good. What about you?" And I said, "I'm doing good." And I replied to that Kitchen Gun parody commercial video. And it said again, "Do you," then it said, "Do you like that parody commercial?" We'll reply to that parody commercial. And then the scammer replied to where I said, "Do you like that parody commercial?" And said, "No." And then where I said, I am doing good. The scammer said, are you going to pay or not? Then I replied to the scammer, where the scammer said, are you going to pay or not? And I said, I already told you that I have to wait 2 to 3 business days for a new one to be delivered first to my adoptive dad because his Target rewards card is expired, and that I also have to wait until I visit him next week first. Then the scammer said, okay. Then I said, this is my current base within Atlas Empires. What do you think about it? And here's the base. So I said, with those 2 images attached to those images, I said, this is my current base within Atlas Empires. What do you think about it? Then the scammer said, that's cool. Then I said, can you guess what day it is today? Reply to where the scammer said, that's cool. And the scammer said, reply to where I said, can you guess what day it is today? Yeah, and then the scammer said, reply to where I said, can you guess what day it is today? Yeah, it's Tuesday. Then I said, reply to where the scammer said, yeah, it's Tuesday. Can you guess what holiday it is today? Then the scammer said, then the scammer said, there are no holidays in Canada today. And then I replied to where the scammer said, yeah, it's Tuesday. And it said, I was talking about what holiday it is today. And then the scammer, or wait, this part? So then the scammer said, replied to where I said, I was talking about what holiday it is today. The scammer said, today's your mother. The scammer said, after I said I was talking about what holiday it is, after I said, the scammer said, replying to, was talking about what holiday it is today. The scammer said, today is your mother. And this was the message I failed to send to the scammer. Because the scammer blocked me. It was going to say, it is National Vanilla Ice Cream today. I was going to say that. I was going to say it is National Vanilla Ice Cream today. I was going to say it is National Vanilla Ice Cream today. Because it was that day. And that message, I'm going to show you what that message looked like when it wasn't faded, because it was faded because I wasn't able, I'm going to show you what that picture looked like when it wasn't faded. That screenshot looked like when it wasn't faded, because it was faded due to me being blocked by that user. This is that screenshot I was going to send with that message. Well, I hope all of you enjoyed this Scambaiter YouTube video. This is Scambaiter Doritos. I don't like to cuss in public, so I censor it with my censoring noise, which is So I hope all of you enjoyed this scam baiting YouTube video. Bye YouTube, and bye my fellow spicy nacho Doritos.